So thank you to everyone who's joined us for our Lunch and Learn session today. Today, Nicole Lynch is joining us, and we are really excited because she's going to showcase MinuteDock. Now, Nicole runs a bookkeeping practice, but she's going to showcase how the solution MinuteDock works. Let me just briefly tell you a little bit about MinuteDock. MinuteDock is an online time tracking application that integrates with Xero, QuickBooks, and Wave Accounting. It has an innovative time entry interface, which very much akin to social media usage, that makes time entry super efficient for your team, as well as a seamless integration with the third-party services, saving countless hours of admin time and overhead. It's used by thousands of people on a daily basis, and it's one of the very first apps that was in the Xero app marketplace. They're a small business based out of Wellington, New Zealand. So I'd like to hand over to you, Nicole, and while I look at this flurry of people joining us.
So as Heather mentioned, I am Nicole Lynch. I'm a bookkeeper. I'm from Streamline Management, and it is a little bit of a departure from the usual setup in that I don't work for the app that I'm demonstrating, but I am a user. I've been using it for about 2 years. Monica and I created Streamline Management in 1997, so that's 24 years ago. And all the way back in 2012, we discovered Xero and cloud apps. And so we've made the journey over to using cloud apps for ourselves, and we're helping our clients make that move as well. As Heather mentioned, MinuteDock was invented in 2009, so it's I guess fairly established, one of the earliest apps that connected to Xero when the API was launched. There are a few questions that Heather likes us to answer about the app. So the question is, what problem is solved? And I think the biggest problem is that timesheets are too bloody hard. And MinuteDock is designed for professional services. So that's people like us. And for people like us, XPM is usually the sort of default. And I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag when I say it's really ugly. And I don't like it. So MinuteDock is really, really easy. As Heather mentioned, if you can use the Twitter, you can use MinuteDock. There's a stop clock there, which is the grey icon. I've put in a little red circle. And you don't need to use your mouse and click all over the place. You can just use your keyboard. So it's this is one that I've made up. So you put @ and the client name, and then you can use hashtags to describe what kind of work. So for your reports, if you're trying to work out how many hours you spend as a senior bookkeeper for a client, or how long you spend preparing BASs, and then you can add a little bit of a description if you want to, or if it's for internal purposes, you don't need to add a description. So where it works well, it's designed for people that work in an office, professionals like us. And most of our clients are on packages, but we create internal reports to review that we've guesstimated correctly when we've created the packages, that we're not cheating ourselves and that we're not cheating our clients as well. And it also allows us to check if we're becoming more efficient, if we're working quicker and smarter. And you can also add some time budgets and make some visual reports. So if you, for instance, we all need to do CPE, so you can make a budget for that. So you can see how you're tracking throughout the month or throughout the year to meet your target. So you know if you've got to do a bit of a scramble or if you're all over it. You can use more than one task tag, so you can break it down into subsections as well, depending if you want to know. For instance, we've done ours with basic bookkeeping, senior bookkeeping, and BAS agent. And we might then want to know, of the BAS agent tasks, how much is support? That's fairly important. All of our packages contain support, so we might want to know how much support we're providing for each client. You can use client nicknames, so you don't have to have the whole client name in your @ symbol. You can customize that, which is useful for clients where they might have a group of entities and they're named quite similarly. for example, and I'm going to make something up here, we have a client where he's got elephant that is white and elephant that is pink and elephant that is blue as his business names. And so to have to type out elephant each time before you get to the descriptive part, you can use initials to make it a lot quicker to prepare your timesheets. If you're billing by the hour, you can have custom billing rates, and you can customize where on your chart of accounts it goes. So if you've got different income codes, you can break it down as well. You can use different, or maybe you're trying to break down for ongoing work versus projects or setup work. So you can do that in your chart of accounts. You can set up different rates for each employee. So if you're billing someone out at a particular rate, you can set that up. And then when you're creating the invoice, depending on how you want it to appear, you can have each task or each timesheet entry as a separate line on the invoice, or you can bulk it up all together and just put the dollar amount. So if you don't want to describe how long you've taken, you don't want them to see necessarily on which day it was or that you stopped and started, you can group it all together to come out as one item on the invoice. And you can create wording templates to make it even quicker to do your invoicing and make it really consistent. So where it's not ideal, it doesn't work great for hospitality and retail. It's not a time and attendance, so it won't have the start time and the end time, and it doesn't record breaks. They are considering building this function, so if that's something you really need, Jared and the team at MinuteDock would consider if there was enough interest to build that. It's not great for construction and field workers either, in that there's no GPS tracker, so you don't know where the person is logging in or out. So you don't know if they're doing it from the comfort of their lounge and not on site. So it wouldn't be great there. What does it integrate with? It integrates with Xero, which is the one I use. So my examples will be about that. It integrates with QuickBooks, apparently FreshBooks, MYOB Essentials, and Wave in Beta. So to connect it to Xero, it's really easy. You just connect it and it automatically imports all of your customers. You can then hide the customers that you're not working with anymore, because if you've been using Xero for a number of years, you'll have perhaps a long list. So you can hide all the stuff that you don't want, so you don't accidentally select the wrong person. It will import currencies, your chart of accounts, and your tax rates. And if you're using items, they will appear as well. And then once you've got that in, you just need to create some tasks and then you're away. And once you've recorded time, then you send draft invoices into Xero. So if you're using a payment gateway, it's connected to Xero and that will go out to the clients. All your templates that you've already set up are used to send the invoices out. There's different ways of customizing what the invoice will look like, which I've already mentioned. So I'll show you that in the demo. And you can also set automatic rounding. So if it's a 15-minute minimum or you round up to the next 15 minutes, you can set that. Or if you're a huge decimal lover, you can do it by 6-minute increments as well. That's how it all connects. So this is my desktop. I have 49 inches of productivity. So I keep MinuteDock in the top right corner of my screen, which is the green icon here. And I have my Asana telling me what to do, and emails and Xero and Receipt Bank. So I can see all my apps at once, but I just have MinuteDock. It's normally a little bit smaller up in the top corner. And so I can see the clock whirring, so I know what I'm doing. And because it's sitting up there, if I'm working on a task and then a client calls me, I can pause the task and start a new task really, really quickly and easily. So I'm recording the support that I'm providing by phone. So it's really quick to switch the task that you're doing, and you can fill in all of the details later. You can just press start for the clock and then come back and put in all of the details that you need. And I find that those calls, they might be quick calls, but when you add them all up, you realize how long you spend on the phone each day. And then when you're done with that call, you can easily redock whatever it was that you're working on, and that timesheet will restart and continue on. So you don't have lots of separate timesheets. So for billing, it will look a little bit neater. And perhaps for your own sanity, you'll be able to quickly see the different things you worked on in the day. You'll have a sensible list of tasks that you've done. So I will jump in to the file and show you how it works. So here is MinuteDock, and you can see across the top here is the timer bar realistically, and then you can see if you're on the time tab, which is the default, it will show you your targets and your caps, and then it shows you the time that you've already logged today and for this calendar week. And then you can go back also and have a look at last week. So to create a time entry, it's just @ symbol and start typing the name. And then perhaps I'm performing some bookkeeping and I can start the clock. If I forgot to start the clock and I know I've already done 5 minutes, I can add 5 minutes in, and then the clock will go up to 5 minutes and 7 seconds. You can add additional tags, so maybe you've done some meetings as well, and then you can write a description. Meeting with Jim Bob. And so when you're done, you can hit enter and it will finish off the time entry. I should probably switch back to being in today. That might be more useful. And so it's added in the time that you've put in here. It was this one here, 5 minutes. And so I can start a new time entry for phone support. And let's say this cube. They're asking me questions about the grants, and I've told them you'll have to wait. There is no information available, and I can finish off that timesheet. And so then when I go back to working on the task that I was working on, I just click on the circular arrow to redock, and then the clock starts again. So it then adds the time to whatever I was working on. And then we've got various reports. So you can break it down easily by this week, last week, this month. Let's just choose this month. And it gives you some little charts, so it's easy to see. So you can see that the most work we've done has been for basket case. Maybe if I zoom this, it'll be a little bit easier to read. And whether they've got projects or not, and then the type of tasks. So we've got bookkeeping, payroll, and you can see that I've got 2 tags on there, and the different types of tasks. And if your clients are on packages, I've marked those clients as unbillable. So 54% of the work that I've done in this month has been for fixed fee clients. And then we've got different rates depending on what the task was, and a bit of an overview of each week. And you can also have a look at the actual time entries that make all of that up. So if you think it looks a little bit weird, you can come back and have a look, and it shows you all of the entries. If you've created an invoice, it tells you that you've already sent this timesheet to Xero, so you won't be able to edit this one again because you've already created the invoice. Creating the invoice is fairly straightforward. You just select whichever client that you want to bill. And so the non-billable clients won't appear here. So basket case, for instance. And then you can choose if you're just going to bill everything or if you want to customize. I'm going to go with everything because, well, they owe me a lot of money. And then you've got how you want it to be grouped or what sort of layout you want. So you can have each entry as a separate item, which in this case, there's only one entry. And it tells you that it's going to the sales account and what the GST rate is. If you were using tracking, you can pop that in as well, and how many hours and what the rate is. But if you don't want to specify, you can pop over to summary and it will have one unit of $2,500 rather than 5 hours at $500. If you bill someone every week, it will put the week into a group. If you forgot to do last week's, you can have 2 entries, or you can do them separately. And then the next step, if you're using the reference box in Xero, you can add a reference. So maybe you're sending the invoice for the month of July, or maybe you're going to put the date range, or perhaps it's the project that you're working on. You can put the reference and that will flow over into Xero. And then you just hit send to Xero. And we've got a take a look button, so that will take you across to Xero, or you can pop in manually into Xero. And so here's the invoice. So it's for basket case with the due date, the date and the due date being 14 days, which we've put in the settings. The invoice number, I've said to MinuteDock, just use the 0 invoice number. So whatever one is next in the sequence, that's what it's giving me. And the reference we decided was July. And then here I can edit again if I want to. So perhaps you have a staff member that drafts them all up and then they sit in draft and you review and approve. And so you can do that here as well. And then you can approve and send out the invoice to your client. So that's pretty much the demo on how it works. You can set your goals in here. And so we've got, we need to do 10 hours a month of CPE to hit the target. And how much time that we don't want to spend more than on admin. If we're spending more than 4 hours each month, perhaps we need to look at some other option. It's not a good use of our time. Perhaps someone helpful in our office should be doing that instead. And so you can create histories and goals with that. And you've got all of your contacts in here. You can change the settings and you can set budgets, or if you're on a fixed fee proposal, how many hours you think that will take if you've used some sort of an hourly calculation to make it up. So you can set time budgets for each client if you want to. Those are essentially the features of MinuteDock.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Really appreciate your time there. I think that we have had a few questions. So if you want to actually pop back into MinuteDock and we can actually use you to demonstrate that, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
But look, it is a sensational solution. And I found that I just wanted to throw my own 2 cents in here. If you're in a situation where there's a lot, if you're jumping between clients, as Nicole did mention, you can stop one and then start another one and then stop another one. I monitored this very closely. I was very pedantic, but I had a lot of Post-it notes on my timing. And so then when I moved to MinuteDock, I monitored it very closely and I increased my revenue by, $400 in that first month, which is not a huge amount, but it easily paid for actually using it because I was able to monitor all these snippets of time that were happening all over the place. And when that 10-minute phone call comes in, it's kind of like, oh, do I charge for it? Do I not charge for it? But it was really easy for me to dock it into MinuteDock. And then when that 10-minute phone call happened 3 times, I've now got like a pretty decent invoice with a lot of detail on it. And that actually accumulated. And I didn't mind the type of work that I did, which was very much ad hoc support. That worked really well. So it was so easy to set up. And there's actually so much in it that it gave me a lot of power, but I was able to get up and running with it quite quickly as well. Now, someone initially quite at the very start asked if you are using it and you've forgotten to record the time, how do you go back and record time? So you could actually, for the entry that you said, which was QBLAM support phone discussion, RE New South Wales government grants, I think you can actually go into that one if you click on that one.
You can click on any and change the date. So you just create it as if it was now, and then you edit the date to push it back to wherever it belongs.
And so you can change the timing on it as well, can't you?
Yes, absolutely. So if you forgot to record it at all, then you can change it to 35 minutes. And then when you do a refresh, it will pop back into yesterday.
Yeah, so hopefully that answered your question. Let me know if that didn't answer your question. But all of those things that are there are editable, or you can go back in and re-edit them. So we also had a question in the chat area, which was, is there a Google Chrome MinuteDock icon? So I'm not sure whether you're using one or not. To show that's completely fine, but we have been advised that there actually is one, and you can actually install it on your Google Chrome, and it keeps a little clock visible as you move between tabs. There was also the question, and maybe you'd like to answer this, Nicole, your perspective on it. How do you track internal admin time, or internal admin tasks, all that unbillable time?
Yep, you can. So they have you can do it as at internal if you want, or at admin. So you can make your own dummy entry, and you can use a tag of admin. So you can do either. You don't have to use a customer name if you don't want. So when I'm recording my CPE, I just do hashtag CPE and I don't put an at client name because there isn't one. So you can do that. So you can either have a client name or not and just use the tags.
Awesome. So I hope that answers your question there. Let us know if you have any more questions. Okay, we do have another question. Hopefully I'm getting through them. We've got a lot of questions here. Are you able to integrate to more than one Xero file? For example, if you have two businesses and an invoice from both of them?
Oh, I'm not sure. I've not tried it. I've only got one business. I would imagine no. You set up the integration once, so you'd probably need 2 MinuteDock files to make that work. I'm not sure if you've ever tried it, Heather.
Well, I'm thinking if you completely unhooked the Xero file and then rehooked it with something else, because the invoices you manually pushed across.
Yes.
So if both of the files were very, very similar when it came to the chart of accounts and the contacts, technically, I think you possibly could, because the pushing of the invoice across wouldn't be a problem. But you would really it would really need to be franchises or something that are very, very similar. And it wouldn't necessarily be easy. And look, MinuteDock it will probably be easier to have two running. So hopefully that's.
Then you would need a nice big screen and two browsers. So have one MinuteDock in Chrome and the other one in Firefox, and off you go.
Okay. Now, I think I've answered all of the questions that are there. Does anyone else have any other questions that they would like to ask? If they want to come on the screen and ask them of Nicole, or if they'd like to ask them in the chat area.
I have another question, Heather.
Yes.
Nicole, is there any, I'm a sole trader, is there any difference really between, except I guess approving timesheets, between the basic version and the next version up?
I don't know that there are a lot of versions.
I didn't,
Sorry, subscriptions. When I say versions, I mean subscriptions. So there's fee structures.
I haven't looked at the fee structure in a while. I'm not sure if there are different ones, but I'm sure it's Googleable.
Actually, Bryce has just answered. Every subscription has full access to all features. Thank you, Bryce.
There you go.
Thank you, Nicole.
We have a team of 3 and we're all using it, and we pay an annual fee to use it.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your questions. So yeah, I'm just racing to, I didn't preempt pricing. Oh, okay. So the pricing comes up. It seems to be user structured. Are there any other questions that people may have? So I think the question came up, additional team members, can we add contractors' time in here as well?
You could add, I'm imagining, as many team members as you need. So it wouldn't matter if they were contractors or not, because it doesn't feed through into Xero payroll. It doesn't go anywhere else. So it doesn't matter from a MinuteDock point of view if they're employees or not.
Yeah, it doesn't feed into wage. It's not going to connect with your wage. So the contractor aspect is from the MinuteDock perspective is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers. Okay, do contractors need their own login to track?
Yes, they do. When you have multiple users, in my file, there's a little icon next to between the client name and the date, and there's a little icon for which user it is. And so that then feeds through if you're billing a different rate per user. But in this demo file, I did it quickly and I just set up as a single user. But if you do have multiple users, it will tell you who's doing it. So yes, you would probably need to use multiple users to know who's logged what.
And I'm not sure, Nicole may have covered it, but with the users, you can actually specify their billing rate. So Nicole could have set up, this is bookkeeping services, but John is charged out at $40 and then Jim is charged out at $80. And that just all automates in the background, which is so sweet.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Would anyone like to come on screen and ask Nicole a question? No? Okay. Any other questions from the chat area? So I think that might be it. So oh, yes. Oh, the people are signing up already. There you go, Nicole. Well done. Look, I love it as a solution. It's so easy to use, and you can also, I believe, have it. Have it on your mobile phone. So if you are running around, remember when we used to go outside and
the olden days.
I remember moving from meeting to meeting and actually being able to log in a MinuteDock phone call between the two meetings, thinking, goodness, I'm just getting paid to walk through the city. This is awesome. And I just, it freed up my life so much. I know it's I'm not a salesperson for MinuteDock, and I don't want to sound salesy, but it was such a relief to use it. And it's so simple to use. But then, as Nicole has highlighted, you can track the budgets and the projects against it. So it does have that power in it as well. Awesome.
There is a phone app for recording time. I wouldn't recommend it as a all day, every day solution. It's really designed to be used in the browser. But if you do go out to a meeting or for ad hoc things, then definitely you can use the phone app. But yeah, it's not a all day, every day device.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that, Nicole. Now, if there is no more questions, I'd like to thank Nicole for presenting MinuteDock and how you are using MinuteDock. And thank you to everyone who actually attended. We really appreciate everyone joining in and asking those questions.